There's a certain subset of people who like to use a certain phrase. Facts don't care about your feelings. But this group is interesting because they don't really care about the facts. This group operates almost entirely from their feelings. But they like to claim that their feelings are facts. So, let's discuss them.
Part 1. What are facts and feelings? Before we can actually start with anything, we need to define our terms like the good, boring academic people we are. So what do people mean when they use the terms facts and feelings? Well, they technically mean things that are objective for facts and subjective for feelings. It's pretty much facts and opinions, reality and belief. Some people, who often like to call themselves rational skeptics, like to act as if facts are always superior to feelings. And they also like to claim that what they believe is a fact, and that what other people believe is a feeling. What I believe is a fact, and what you believe is a feeling. And feelings are inferior to facts because, well, facts are facts. So, before we get into an actual discussion, let's do the bare minimum. Let's do what some people consider to be an irrefutable fact. Let's look at some definitions. And for this we'll just use Google's definitions because why not? Objective, it's an adjective, of a person or their judgment not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts. Fair enough? Subjective, adjective, based on or influenced by personal feelings, tastes, or opinions. Alright, cool. So as you can see, these terms pretty much mean facts and opinions. For the purpose of this discussion, we'll just assume that definitions themselves can't change, because that is how some of these people think. Part 2. Objectivity. We know the basics here, right? We know that objectivity is a fact. We know because that all-important dictionary definition told us so, right? Right? Maybe. But it's a bit more complicated than that. You see, to know whether something is objective, whether something is a fact, we first have to ask a big question. What is a fact? How do we decide whether something is a fact? Facts change over time as we naturally acquire more information that allows us to realize that we were ignorant before. A simple example of this would be to look at old school medicine. All you need to do is look up the medical advice of an ancient thinker or a folk remedy to realize that what was once considered a fact, in terms of medicine, is in fact a load of nonsense. So, can facts then stop being facts? Can we eventually realize that what we thought was knowledge is actually not knowledge? I mentioned medicine before, and I'm going to keep using it as an example because it's a great way to explain something called the half-life of knowledge. First off, this has nothing to do with the video game franchise Half-Life, and is instead based on the concept of the half-life in physics. The half-life of knowledge, also known as the half-life of facts, is the amount of time that passes until half the facts in a particular field are no longer correct. Medicine is an easy one here. We are constantly developing new treatments, vaccines, procedures, etc., and so half the facts of medicine become obsolete after a few years. We do not know which facts will become obsolete or how long it will take for them to become obsolete, but many of them are. This applies especially to fields that move very quickly. Other than medicine, think about something like computer science. How quickly does our computer technology improve? Is there a reason to teach old, outdated practices that are no longer useful? Or are those things no longer facts? On this topic, Samuel Arbesman wrote a book called The Half-Life of Facts, Why Everything We Know Has an Expiration Date. And he gives a good summary of this on the very first page of his first chapter. Facts change all the time. Smoking has gone from doctor recommended to deadly. Meat used to be good for you, then bad to eat, then good again. Now it's a matter of opinion. The age at which women are told to get mammograms has increased. We used to think that the Earth was the center of the universe, and our planet has since been demoted. So, facts can be difficult to pin down. So are facts necessarily reliable then? Sure, we need to rely on them because it's the basis of our knowledge. But when that knowledge gets updated, shouldn't we discard what we once thought of as a fact and move on with our lives? Or should we rather keep clinging to old facts that justify our beliefs, our feelings? So let's ask another question. Do people mean it when they say, facts don't care about your feelings? This is, after all, a very common belief to many people. People love to claim when they see something they disagree with that facts don't care about your feelings. They like to say it with a smarmy expression on their face and in their voice, but here's the thing. These people, the ones who love to say that facts don't care about your feelings, certainly do think that they believe this. But that's because they're operating from their feelings. Basically, these people are hypocrites. Which definitely isn't a fresh take, but that doesn't mean it isn't true. These people believe that they think facts don't care, and they'll then proceed to maintain an extremely subjective personal belief system that involves the God they believe in, the political systems they believe in, the cultural values they believe in, etc., etc. But before we move on to these hypocritical people, let's first look at the kind of person that does actually believe that facts don't care about your feelings. A person such as Ayer. Now, most people will probably have never heard of him, but he was a logical positivist. A philosophy that believed all knowledge, although he was often speaking about philosophy, should deal with empirically verifiable facts alone. So what did he believe? Well, he was an atheist, and that kind of is necessary if you actually believe that facts don't care about your feelings, because you cannot prove the existence of a higher power, and being able to feel the Lord in you is not evidence. He also believed that metaphysics should be abolished, which is a branch of philosophy dealing with things like the nature of existence, because those things cannot be proven through science. He thought ethics should be reworked and that we shouldn't trust common sense because it can be misleading. So now that's your boy, you rational skeptics out there. He believed in empirical evidence only. It had to be verifiable. He didn't believe in God or other unverifiable things like all those other rational skeptics out there. Ditch the ones like Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson and Candace Owens if you think facts don't care about your feelings, because all of them are definitely basing things off their feelings. Here's the problem with A.J. Ayer. He's really fucking boring. Just try reading some of his books. I read 2 of them for the purpose of this video. I read Language, Truth and Logic and The Problem of Knowledge, and they are some of the driest, most boring to read philosophy you will ever find. It's not just your usual pompous ramblings. It's not someone like Kant or Hegel who are trying to be difficult to understand. No, he's just boring. And so maybe he won't be a good Ben Shapiro replacement after all. First of all, because he's dead. But second of all, because he probably wouldn't have been a fast talker who could own the libs. He'd likely just drone on forever. But if that's what an actual facts don't care about your feelings person would be, then what about the people who use that phrase en masse? What about your standard conservative thinker? Well, your standard conservative likes to adopt facts don't care about your feelings when it comes to a lovely array of topics. It's generally a very anti-mentality. They use it to try and discount the things they don't believe in, like the Me Too movement, trans people's existence, gay people's marriage, and sometimes their existence too, welfare states, climate change, social justice, political correctness, etc., etc. Essentially, they like to claim facts without even doing a cursory Google search for actual facts. It is far easier to just believe in things and then pretend that you know all the facts because of your big brain place. But people often like to act like experts when they're actually incredibly ignorant on a topic. I mean, just Google the Dunning-Kruger effect if you want to learn a bit about that concept, or, read their actual papers. Okay, but this has all just been a whole load of negativity. So let's switch on to something a bit more positive. Let's stop attacking people who believe in pure objectivity and let's instead discuss subjectivity for a good while. Part 3. Subjectivity. Before we get to discussing subjectivity, I feel that I should put a little disclaimer here. Subjective things are not facts, but just because something isn't a fact doesn't mean it's a lie. People like to equate feelings to lies, or at least the people who use that phrase we've been banging on about. But subjectivity is actually not the opposite of a fact. For instance, your favourite movie, whatever it is your favourite movie from a subjective perspective. This doesn't mean your favourite movie is wrong, but it also doesn't mean it's right. There cannot objectively be a good movie. But let's just demonstrate this with a concrete example, because things tend to go more smoothly when you don't speak in abstracts. Let's rather talk about something real, something we can all see and understand. Beauty. Beauty is, by its very nature, subjective. There's a reason we use the phrase beauty is in the eye of the beholder rather than like beauty is exactly what the authorities say it is. Some people like to claim that objective beauty exists, that there is a factually beautiful thing or person, and for the sake of this example, we're going to be looking at the notion of objective beauty in people. And to get rid of all those feelings, we're also only going to look at external beauty. None of this beautiful on the inside stuff. We're looking at the nitty-gritty, the physical, the surface level. So let's do this. And here's where we get to the portion of the show, the fun show where we talk about the idea of objective beauty rather than subjective beauty, because why would beauty be a subjective measure anyway? Now, if we want to understand the whole idea of something being objective, if something is objective, it must mean that it is this thing. It has to be. It starts with an S. It has a C, an I, an E, an N, E, S, C. Science. And it is scientific. But we're not going to be looking at boring old science here. We're just going to be looking at objectivity, which is science. Anyway, let's make sure all of our brushes are the same. Now, first off, I can't draw. But for the purpose of this, we should be fine. Now, we're going to look at objectivity in human beings. And first off, you want to be kind of ableist, usually, when it comes to standards of beauty, right? Beauty is an ableist notion. So you must have a nice old head, a nice spine, nice legs, nice arms. That is our person. However, how do we make this person beautiful? Now, first off, imagine that I'm actually a good artist. Imagine, pretend, make believe that this is actually really, really well done. And you're like, oh my word, that is so beautifully done. That is just gorgeous. I can't believe such a beautiful thing could ever have been created. That is not reality in this particular case, but pretend. So, this person, now we're going to be looking at objectivity in woman, so woman's standards, right? Because we got to start somewhere. Now, ideals of beauty vary depending on where... Oh, sorry, I'm talking about subjectivity. We're saying that supposedly there can be such a thing as objective beauty, so we can't have different cultures who have different opinions on what makes something beautiful. Can we? Anyway, we're going to go by Western standards because, well, I'm a Westerner. So, obviously, it's the thing I know best. So, if I know Western beauty standards the best, out of all the different types of beauty standards that there are, and because I am myself a white person, I must be a bit more westernized. So, by Western standards, well, beauty would also be a bit racist, obviously, so white person, because that's how it always is. You know, if you're going by your contemporary Western standards of beauty, doesn't mean it's fair or anything like that, but that's kind of how it is because beauty standards are often kind of disgusting. So, white person, we're going to be talking about a woman, the idea of a perfect woman. Now, the perfect woman, in terms of beauty, right? Now, this is perfect, must be objective, which means scientific, which means that it must be a perfect specimen of femininity, right? So, of course, arms, probably not too bulky, probably just, nice and toned. I can't draw, but just imagine that's something nice. Legs, oh, those would be nice as well. They'll be kind of, firm, but not too muscular, because as soon as, if you see what people talk about when they see old Last of Us Part 2, they don't like muscular women, now do they? So, has to be that. Now, what about hands? Oh, it's objective, so you have to also look at what the hands look like. First off, there should probably be 5 fingers on each hand, but let's just say, now, these are a bit skew, but just imagine that they were perfect. The perfectest perfect fingers that could ever be perfected. It's objective, so it has to be perfect, right? Feet, oh well, feet also have to be perfect. I mean, they probably can't be too big because it's a woman. And they can't be too broad because it's a woman, so they must be nice, and they must have obviously 5 toes. I'm not going to draw 5 toes. I'm just going to do squiggles. So it's got nice toes and what have you. Okay, the body. Oh well, that it can't be too curvy. Or wait, do some people like it curvier? Well, that's not so good. No, we're doing objective. It's objective. It's objective. So they have breasts. I've just run into a problem with my breasts here. You see, different people. Well, some people like large breasts, and some like small, and some like medium. So that. Okay. If we're going by what we usually think of as perfect standards for a woman, well, probably be not too big, not too small, so somewhere in the middle, but also on the bigger side of things. So let's just say, pretend these are good-looking breasts. They're not, but let's just pretend. Okay, so she has a good pair of breasts on her. Okay, so hips, usually bigger hips. Pretend that this looks good. Bigger hips. Because the idea is that a woman is a childbearing creature, and so therefore she must have bigger hips. Okay, well my hips look really bad here, but let's just that this creates this idea of someone being curvy, right? So it's a curvy person, which is what a woman is supposedly supposed to be. But of course you can't have those kind of curves, ones that stick out more, because well those kind of curves that's not objectively beautiful. It's only when it's thin. But how thin? Must it be like anorexic thin? Or must it be like more like a sort of healthy thin? Or maybe a little bit of meat on the bones? Well, we're being objective, so it has to be one of them, right? People usually say anorexia is bad, so it's maybe this middle one, right? Like nice and thin, but a little bit of meat on your bones is that's a no. So, okay, so no. That's a problem. Okay, well we got to get to the face. Let's just get to the face. Let's just do the face. Okay, this is going to be a lot less complicated. I'm sure it'll be a lot less complicated because here we can definitely know what is exactly objectively beautiful about a person's face. Okay, well they have eyes. Okay, cool. They have eyes. How far apart are they supposed to be? Oh no. Okay. How large? Okay. What color? The pupil. Okay. This is okay. We're starting to get some problems. Okay. Eyes probably shouldn't be too far apart. They shouldn't be too big, but what is... It's objective, so it has to be perfect. There has to be a perfect measurement of eye distance. Like, there has to be a mathematical formula, because otherwise it isn't subjective. That's what objective means. Objective means that it's scientifically provable, so there must be a mathematical formula. I can't speak anymore. There must be some kind of mathematical formula to working out the perfect eye distance inside. Okay, let's just move on forward. Okay, lips. Okay. Is it like bigger lips? Or like smaller lips? Some people like bigger lips, other ones like smaller. Okay, let's just do the nose. So there's a nose. There's always a nose. Is it a more concave or a convex nose? Which... This is objectivity. So this is a scientifically... So this is scientific... Scientific beauty. I'm writing really slowly here because it's difficult to do it with a scientific beauty. It must be perfect. So is it a concave or a convex nose? Is it a nose that does this, or is it a nose that goes like that? Which of these two noses is the more correct nose? Or is it a nose that's just sort of flat? How much does it curve? What is the perfect nostril size? Oh. Okay. This is becoming too complicated. Okay, let's just, okay, it's fine. Nose. There must be a scientifically correct nose. I mean, if objective beauty exists, there must be a scientifically correct nose. And also cheekbones. There must be perfect cheek... Are they higher or are they lower? What is the chin like? Does it protrude, or is it more like sort of an indented nose? The belly button. There has to be a belly button. Is it an innie or an outie? Which one is correct? Oh, we're getting... Okay, and then of course we also get to this whole area here, which is a whole other bag of worms, right? What is the perfect pubic hair? What is the perfect vaginal structure? Because there are different ones. So I don't know which one is perfect, but one of them certainly is, because it's scientific and objective. Okay, so what about hair? Okay, well, it would... Okay, hair usually... I'm just going to do the stereotypical woman hair that you always see in bad things. So this is a woman. This is our scientifically beautiful woman. Anyway, the hair. So it's either got to be, well, objective beauty. So obviously it's subjective. So what is the objectively perfect hair length? Is it like long? Or is it like really, really short, like a buzz cut? Like which? Probably more hair, right? But not too much hair. But it's objective, so there must be a perfect measurement. Otherwise, it cannot be objectively beautiful. And color, hair color. I mean, I like darker colors. I also like when people dye their hair. You know, the fun colors. I like it when they dye their hair red and, you know, like blue and like green. I must be honest, I don't much like yellow, although I suppose blonde exists. Pink, I like pink hair. I think it looks really cute. But that's me. So it'd probably be like a brown, right? Brown would probably be the objective, or maybe a black. Would black maybe be perfectly objective hair? So really, I mean, you get some people who have that like ashen hair, like Geralt or Ciri from The Witcher. I mean, that's really beautiful hair. It's more white than this, but if I did white, it wouldn't show up. It would just erase things. So, I mean, which hair color is objectively correctly the hair color that it has to be? This is okay. Let's... What kind of fingernails? I mean, does she have those little, like, stubby fingernails? Or does she... Okay, we're getting ready to bog down. No, but we have to get bogged down into details if we're looking at the idea of objective beauty. Now, this is maybe why I say this little thing. We say that beauty is... There's this word that we like to use. Starts with an S. Subjective. Beauty is subjective. Beauty is in the eye of the... Can't fit in the rest there. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's an F. Beholder. Which means that beauty is what we make of it. We decide what is beautiful and what isn't. And this abomination of a human that I've just created is not the most beautiful creature that's ever existed. And of course we get into a whole other bag of worms if we're going to talk about man. Because of course it also has to do with this damn stupid eyebrow size. And how much wrinkles have you got here? What kind of hair? Do you have like a receding hairline, or is your hairline nice and thick out by the front? What is your chin like? What are your shoulders? Are your shoulders nice and broad, or are they like lax little things? I mean, come on. Kneecaps. If you're looking at objective beauty, there has to be a perfectly objectively best kneecap. But beauty is not objective. Beauty is not a fact. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's also subjective. It is not a fact. And this has been a demonstration from LC Lupus Productions. Enjoy the rest of the video.
Well, that took a while. Anyway, not to beleaguer things further, but seeing as things like beauty are subjective, can anyone be wrong about what they find beautiful? Let's use my subjective tastes as an example, and for this I'll be switching to another kind of beauty. No more human beings. Ew. Let's instead look at some visual art. All of these things are subjective. I'm not right for thinking a game, movie, or painting with a stylized art style is better than realistic things. but I'm also not wrong. It's what I like. It's my taste, no one else's. Other people want things that are gloriously rendered and look like real life, but real life is boring and it can involve pain and toilet breaks and constipation. I want my visual art to reflect something more imaginative, a more skewed view of reality. But that isn't necessarily what I want out of my narratives. I have a range of tastes that vary according to the medium and according to mood. I'm never wrong for wanting to listen to death metal 1 minute and the Beatles the next. I'm not wrong for wanting that, but I'm also not right in the objective sense. No piece of art is objectively superior to any other, even when we want to look at something hideous and claim no one else can think that looks good. But you'll find someone who does find it beautiful. There are probably people out there who love old school PS1 era polygon graphics. I don't much care for it, but someone does, and they aren't wrong for thinking that. And the same goes for everyone who watches this video and everyone who doesn't watch it, meaning everyone in existence. Everyone has their own tastes, and that's subjective. The things that make you happy, the games you play, the comedy you find funny, the things that turn you on, it's all subjective and you're not wrong for it. You're also not wrong for the way you feel, ever. If you're angry, then you're angry, even if you're angry at something you misunderstood. Your feelings, and now I'm talking about actual feelings, are never wrong. You feel them, and therefore they are subjectively your own. The big difference between objective things and subjective things is that everyone has a subjectively favored book, movie, whatever. But no matter how much you want it to be the case, hydrogen will always ignite when it comes into contact with fire. This is objective. But when people say facts don't care about your feelings, they're not talking about stuff like that, are they?
You see, it often has to do with political beliefs. These leftists just think with their feelings. Climate change isn't happening. Here's the science, though. That science is part of the leftist agenda. It's from Cambridge. Leftist, look at my science. But that's funded by an oil company. They have a vested interest in denying climate change. Feelings, feelings, feelings.
The people who say facts don't care about your feelings are generally thinking solely from a feelings-based perspective. Show me someone who operates entirely on facts and I'll be impressed, but I doubt such a person could even exist. We're all raised within a culture that injects its values into us as we grow, and that culture is inherently subjective. Even the concept of human rights is subjective. It's part of ethics, which is not objective. There are no laws of nature about ethics, but we generally agree that pinning someone to the ground and cutting their toe off with a butter knife is wrong. But it's not objectively wrong. Nothing is objectively wrong. Well, unless, of course, God says it's wrong. But if you believe in God, you're operating from a feeling again, so whoops! It looks like we've stopped with that positivity I said I'd be adopting, right back to attacking the notion of objectivity outside the science as being real. All the people who claim that things like democracy, binary, gender, freedom, etc. are objective, well, they're wrong. They are subjective notions that we've decided over generations upon generations. We've iterated on them, changed them, or improved them, or at least sometimes improved them. We tend to feel a need for social order of some kind, but that's a subjective want. Nature doesn't do that. Nature is uninterested in such things. In nature, if we were as the non-human animals, we'd often be struggling to survive. We'd kill each other for better hunting grounds. We'd kill each other over a mate. Animals kill all the time. But do they ever see murdering other animals as a moral evil? Nope. But we've moved somewhat beyond all that and are able to understand things in a more complex fashion. We also don't need to kill for food. We don't need to slaughter each other just to get a mate. In fact, we generally agree that it would be wrong to kill the groom at a wedding and replace him. that would probably be seen as wrong. Non-human animals live objectively. We live subjectively. All of our values have been devised over centuries of thought, and all of those value systems are subjective. For instance, we're not innately born with a belief in God like Descartes tried to claim. Instead, we're taught to believe. We're taught to believe in a lot of things. So all those people who try to act as if facts don't care about your feelings has any truth behind it whatsoever should also deny all philosophy, theory, art, spiritual beliefs, video games, literally everything on YouTube, just everything. Oh, but I hear you shouting, oh, but science is objective. And yes it is. What do you use it for, though? Do you use science in its raw form, mixing chemicals and making experiments? Or do you use it to make phones and computers and recreational drugs and all the other things that allow us to have our subjective existence? What we want in life is subjectivity. We want feelings and opinions in fiction and creative interpretations of non-fiction. This is what we live for. I mean, come on. Do you, when you want to find out about historical truths, read a textbook, which is arguably filled with objective information, or do you want a documentary? A documentary that had to subjectively interpret objective information so that it could be viewed as a piece of entertainment. Sure, some people read textbooks, but don't most people read non-fiction with an opinion behind it? Don't people read non-fiction books with an agenda? Sometimes it's an agenda you agree with and other times it isn't. Either way, very little in this world is presented to us in an objective fashion.
But do you actually want pure objectivity? Or do you just want to believe it so you can keep using that idiotic phrase to attack marginalized people? Because that's what it's mostly used for. Now, because it's always fun to end something with a bang, feelings don't care about your facts, you goddamn snowflake.